Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. I'm John,
And I'm Jenny.
and we're so excited for this deep dive today, all about career tips,
Yes, always a relevant topic, I think, no matter where you are in your journey.
right? And a big thank you to Azhar for pulling out those key insights from our source material today.
Yeah.
You know, Jenny, when we look at people who were just killing it in their careers, it's tempting to think, oh, they're just naturally
Yeah,
talented.
right.
They were born with it. But today, we're going beyond that and
Mhm.
exploring something that might actually be even more important when it comes to having a long and successful career.
Yes, exactly. We're taking a deep dive today into the ideas from Angela Duckworth's book, Grit.
Yes, and we're going to be pulling out some actionable advice for all of you, no matter where you are in your career.
Exactly. Actionable advice that you can use today to really elevate your professional game.
So have you ever wondered what really separates those who rise to the top from those who kind of just stay stuck?
Yeah, it's a question a lot of us have.
So Jenny, what exactly is grit?
Well, grit is this really powerful combination of passion for a long-term goal and then the perseverance to stick with it, even when things get hard. You could almost think of it as like this tenacious dedication.
So it's not about just having a spark of excitement when you start something new.
Yeah.
It's about like maintaining that fire over a long period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that, dedication day after day to show up and put in the work, even when things get tough or boring or monotonous or, it's just that inner drive to keep pushing forward.
And I think this idea really challenges that notion that we hear all the time,
Mhm.
that success is just about being naturally gifted.
Right, right. And while natural talent certainly can give you a head start, research shows that it's not actually what predicts long-term achievement.
Yeah.
The people who really achieve at the highest levels are often distinguished by just their commitment to getting better constantly and their ability to overcome obstacles.
And that's actually
So,
really encouraging to hear because,
okay.
I've definitely felt this myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of people listening have as well. That maybe I just don't have the natural talent in certain areas
Yeah.
to really reach those high levels.
It's a common thought, but the really cool thing about grit is it kind of levels the playing field.
Right.
It's something we can all develop and cultivate regardless of our natural talents.
So we've got a good definition of grit there.
Yeah.
This passion plus perseverance. What's one of the biggest things that stood out to you from the book?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways from grit is that effort actually matters more than talent when it comes to achieving mastery and accomplishment. Duckworth actually has this really great equation that she uses to illustrate this, and it is talent, effort, skill,
Okay.
and then skill, effort, achievement.
So talent is like our raw potential,
Mm-hmm.
but without putting in the effort, it just stays potential.
Exactly. So, you might have some natural ability in a certain area, but it's that dedicated practice that turns that ability into a true skill.
And then even once you've developed that skill, it's still effort that leads to achievement.
Yes.
So effort is what kind of amplifies both our talent and our skills.
Yes, exactly. It's not just about getting started. It's about continuous learning and refinement and that dedicated effort to really transform your skills into something that you can achieve with.
So I think one of the most powerful things there is that it encourages us to focus on what we can control, which is our effort,
Yes.
instead of getting caught up in, feeling like we don't have enough natural talent.
Exactly. Redirect your energy from things you can't control into the things that you can, like consistent effort
Right.
and committing to that lifelong learning and improvement. And I think that's something that all of the most successful people do is really focus on that growth and that effort.
Mm. And of course, careers aren't always easy.
Of course not.
There's definitely obstacles and setbacks along the way. How does grit help us to deal with those?
Well, I think this is where that perseverance element of grit comes in. Failure is just a part of any career path. Everyone experiences it at some point. But people with grit don't see those failures as a sign that they lack ability or that they should give up. Instead, they see failure as an opportunity to learn and grow.
I think that's such an important mindset shift
Mhm.
because it's so easy to just feel defeated when we get rejected or when we fall short of a goal.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine you're interviewing for your dream job and you don't get it, or you're going for a promotion and you don't get it. For someone without grit, it might feel like that's the end. Maybe they'll start to get discouraged and think about giving up.
Right, maybe I'm just not cut out for this.
Right, maybe this isn't for me. But someone with grit will approach that situation totally differently. They'll take the time to analyze what happened. Maybe they'll ask for feedback. They'll try to figure out where they can improve.
So it's about taking those setbacks as valuable data
Exactly. It's taking those setbacks as information to help you move forward. And each time you overcome a challenge or you learn from a failure, you become more resilient and you build up that ability to bounce back from future setbacks. You start to see mistakes not as reasons to quit, but as opportunities to become more capable.
Okay, so we've got effort, we've got embracing challenges. Now let's talk about passion.
Okay.
How do we find that passion in our careers?
So I think Duckworth makes a really important point here, and that's that passion for your career, it usually doesn't just hit you all at once. It's not this sudden revelation. It develops gradually over time as you engage more deeply in your work. And as you start to master certain skills and find meaning and purpose in what you're doing.
Hmm.
And I think, finding work that excites you, something that you can see yourself doing long term, is key for long term career success.
I love that because I think so many people are waiting for that aha moment.
Right.
This is my passion, and it puts so much pressure on you to find that one thing.
Right.
But it's really a process of exploration.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
And even when you're passionate about your work, you're going to encounter difficulties and frustrations. There are going to be when you question whether you're on the right path. And that's normal. That's okay.
Even the most fulfilling jobs have their tough days.
Right, exactly. But it's those times when it's important to remember your commitment and to stick with it. And pushing through those difficult periods, putting in the effort, actually deepens your passion and it makes you even better at what you do.
So for those people who are maybe still exploring different paths or trying to figure out what they're really passionate about, where should they even start?
I would say just start trying things out.
Okay.
Take on side projects that seem interesting, volunteer, learn new skills. These are all great ways to kind of figure out what really energizes you and what you're naturally drawn to.
That's great advice. So it's about taking action rather than just waiting for that inspiration to strike. Now, there's another idea that seems closely connected to grit, and that's mindset. Tell us about the role of a growth mindset.
So a growth mindset is the belief that your abilities and intelligence, they're not fixed. They can actually be developed through effort and learning and hard work. And people with a growth mindset, they tend to embrace challenges. They seek feedback, and they prioritize learning and progress over just trying to look perfect or avoid failure.
And how does that differ from what's called a fixed mindset?
Right. So someone with a fixed mindset, they tend to believe that their talents and intelligence are basically set in stone. They might avoid challenges because they're afraid of failing, and they may even see feedback as a personal attack rather than an opportunity to grow.
So how does a growth mindset help us in our careers?
Well, because real expertise in any field, it takes time to develop. It's not something you're born with. No one starts at the top. So a growth mindset really helps you to see setbacks as opportunities to learn rather than as proof that you're not good enough. You're more likely to keep going when things are tough because you believe that your efforts are going to pay off in the end.
So it's seeing your potential as something that you can develop.
Yes, exactly. And when you inevitably face criticism or failure, because we all do, instead of getting discouraged, someone with a growth mindset will ask themselves, what can I learn from this? And how can I improve next time? And that focus on learning and growth, that's what leads to resilience and ultimately greater success.
I love those questions. Really makes you think about things in a different way. And what I love about grit is that it's not something we're born with or without.
hmm
We can actually develop it. So what are some practical ways that we can start building more grit in our professional lives?
Absolutely. I mean, grit is definitely a skill that can be developed through effort and practice. And I think one of the best ways to start is by setting clear long-term goals. Take some time to really visualize where you want to be in your career, say 5 or 10 years from now, and then break down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
And that gives you that sense of direction.
Exactly. And, another thing you can do is to surround yourself with other gritty people.
Right.
Network with professionals who inspire you. People who have that determination that can challenge you to grow, their energy can be really contagious and it can help you develop your own grit.
Our networks are so important.
Yes. Another important element is just learning to persist through those difficult times. When you face setbacks or you just feel like giving up, remember why you started in the first place. Reconnecting with your why can give you that boost of motivation and help you to stay on track.
And celebrate those small wins too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Don't just wait for the big achievements.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the small victories and the progress that you make along the way. It can be really motivating and it reinforces your commitment to those long-term goals. Remember that success is usually a gradual process. It's built on consistent effort, patience, and dedication.
So to kind of summarize our deep dive today into grit, achieving career success isn't just about natural talent.
Right.
It's about grit, this combination of passion and perseverance.
And remember, grit is not something you're just born with. It's
Sure.
something that you can develop and strengthen.
Exactly. So now that you know about the power of grit, here's a question for you to think about. What is one small but persistent action that you can commit to this week?
Mm-hmm.
Something that will move you a little bit closer to your long-term career aspirations.
That's a great question to ponder.
Terima kasih dan jumpa lagi.